Hi friends, how are you today? I hope you're doing well. This is Wanyeha Jean Dudes, and I'm just glad to be here again, talking to you about the spiritual aspect of living abroad or the journey thereof. Yeah. So, for those who don't know me, I welcome you, and those who haven't been here before, those who haven't watched other videos, I started this segment by talking about our journey coming abroad, and ours was a journey that took very long. And in that length of time, it took 7 years for us to be able to join my husband, who had left 7 years prior. And in that journey, in that waiting, I was invited. Yeah, right. So I think that is the most appropriate term. So my journey started with loss, lots of loss, right? Because my husband left in the year 2009 around May, and by December we tried for the very first time to join him, and we were applying for a tourist visa, and in the 7 days it took to wait for the replies from the embassy, I had disposed of a lot of our items, right? And so that was the first time. The journey started with loss. So I had disposed a lot of items through sale, through giving out. I felt that for sure this would happen. You may call it a foolish move, and I really think it was because had we gone through the plan, like we had decided that we would join him in like a year and a half or 2 years, perhaps things would have been better. But looking at the children of Israel and their journey, yeah, they went into Egypt looking for food, and they stayed there. They ran out of the first batch of food because they had been invited to stay by Joseph, and they were actually allocated a place they would stay in Goshen, yeah, Egypt. And eventually the season changed, and they never went back home. They stayed, and when a bad king came along, or a bad pharaoh that didn't care about their history or their journey or how their predecessor was so good and he helped Egypt in perhaps having seasons of abundance, food wise, they didn't care. He didn't care, and he made them slaves, or he made slaves out of them. And 400 years later, they would call upon God. They had always been, but this time they called upon God, and nothing catches God by surprise, because 400 years prior he had talked to Abraham. This you will find, I think, in Genesis 15. He had talked to Abraham and put him to sleep, asked him to make a sacrifice, and then put him to sleep. And in that time, because God communicates with our spirit, and hence all the dreams that we dream when we've been invited to do a particular journey, God will speak to you through dreams and visions. He will speak to your children. He will speak to you in ways that you never ever even heard before among your people, or you will think these things happen to other people. But when the invitation happens, or when he who puts the plan into place, you will find that he will talk to you in many ways, including sending you teachers, just so many ways that you'll be sensitized to see, because when the season is on, it's really on. I want us to read from the book of Isaiah. I want to read a very short verse today. It's Isaiah 42 and 9. One version of the Bible says, everything I prophesied has come true, and now I will prophesy again. I will tell you the future before it happens. And another one says, see, the former things have taken place, and new things I declare. Before they spring forth into being, I announce them to you. And you will realize that nothing happens until God reveals it to you in so many ways, yeah. And there's a video that I've shared all the dreams, okay, not all the dreams, but just some of the dreams that happened on my way to getting those visas. But now this particular verse, I would bump into it in in Canada about the time that we were to leave. We lived in the first place that we ever ventured abroad for a year. And just before we left, around January, we were escorting my husband to the airport. And as soon as he left, because we escorted him and left him at a particular place so he could go into the security and all that, as soon as he left, a message came into my phone, and it said, it was showing this verse, and for some reason I sent it to him. We didn't know why then. That night I would have a dream, and it showed, listen, at this point we did not even know uh how much. We had not gotten into a real discussion about us leaving, but we had always mentioned it, yeah. So I dreamt about being in my workplace, and then a manager I was working with, a very nice manager I was working with, or left to serve some people, which is something we didn't used to do at the workplace, yeah. So when he left and came back, he told me, now you go for your break. So it was around 7 o'clock in the night. This was like the closing shift that we used to close at 10:30. So when I went to the break, I found that I was not in the place that I walked into, but I found myself in a place that I had been in my childhood, yeah. Walking from that place, going into Dandora Phase 1. I don't want to say where exactly, but I walked into Dandora Phase 1, and when I got, I went into a certain plot or a certain house. Those who know Dandora know these places, and yeah, I found a room full of women, some that I knew, some that I did not know. And I walked towards one woman that I had known. While I was talking to her, I heard somebody say in Kikuyu a word that I had never heard before. I told you I'm not a very good Kikuyu speaker, but she said, "Nikwanga toka." And when she said that, "Nikwanga toka," and the meaning to me, like it came to me right there in English, it has sprung or something like that. It has sprung, was kind of the closest meaning. And so I realized that, oh, I should get back to work before closing time. And so even though my break was 15 minutes, going back to work was 10:30, meaning it was closing time. I needed to leave work. God works in mysterious ways. So in the following month, I did not know that this manager was supposed to leave. But when I was told that he was going to leave, he was one of my best. When I was told he was going to leave, I got reflective. But it took me back to that dream that when he left to serve, because he was going now to another establishment, when he left to serve, that is when I went for my break, and then it was closing time. And so these things were happening now in the physical, but they had been in my dream. And so it is that night that I've sent this message that I'm dreaming, and then in the following weeks, these things would take place, yeah, leading to a point where we were now in serious discussions about leaving this place. And so the dream was talking to me and showing me that when you see this happening, like when you see the manager leaving, it will be very close to your time of leaving. And so things happened in the physical, some things that I could not even help or control, yeah. And eventually it came time to leave. And I've spoken about how it was a miracle, even how we got our visas in like one day, in a span of 3 days, being in a certain place or where we were going to pick the visas. We were given them instead of a 1 month. They take usually 1 month, yeah, but we were given within 3 days. And so our stay was shortened and we left Canada. But that period between January 9th no, it was January 10th. And our time of living, a lot happened, and they happened exactly like this dream has had shown. So why am I sharing this with you? And I did quite expect even for it to go like this. So I've been talking to you about seasons, yeah, and the change thereof. And I want to talk to somebody who is going through a journey. You're waiting for something to happen, and even now, as you're seated there, just in some sort of activity, yeah, led by the Holy Spirit, and seeing some signs and wonders coming to you, things that you cannot even explain, for fear that you would even be labeled as crazy, because some things are very close to the heart, yeah. And when you see God leading you to these places or in a certain way, you realize that it's happening to me, and only I can understand it at this point, yeah. But it is a prophecy of things to come, but it's a prophecy that is happening in a very short time. So this is one such season, yeah, and I've been observing it. And like I mentioned from the very beginning, coming back from Kenya in February, that I was spurred into some sort of activity, but then there were other issues that I had to address because they were pulling me down and setting me into a depression. And now I realize that with revelation comes deliverance, like I mentioned in the last video, as things are being revealed and being dealt with. I find that the things that I was called to do in that period, heading into spring, are actually happening. And so you find in the spring season, like I said, people are cleaning, people are changing, people are welcoming in the sun and the changes there. But I see things being set in motion, and I know it is not just me. Earlier today, I was listening to some teachers, some people that have been teachers in my past. I think they're both called Angie, actually. One was talking about going into a season of an Esther's fast, and the other one, oh my God, was talking about, in this particular video that I bumped into, was talking about redemption for the families that don't fit the mold. And that is actually what we've been talking about here. People who don't fit the mold, but God is using them to do something. God is calling a person in a particular family to bring change into this family, because even in the Bible, we see that God used the most unlikely characters because he knew their hearts. I've always said in discussions that I find that and they were referring to Rahab, and for me particularly, I was impressed with that because I've always found that prostitutes and for lack of a better word, or have the kindest of hearts. So do druggies, you know, people who do drugs, people who have been addicted. You find that they're in a certain place of spiritualism that nobody can quite explain. It could be madness, you know, it could be referred to as madness, yeah, if you do the research like that. But you find that these people are so extraordinary, and as much as you would want to spend time, a lot of time in their presence because of that kind of arena, yeah, you find that you learn something or you discover things that are just not the usual or the norm, right? But so many signs that God will send in a time where your breakthrough is required, or he's calling you into another place, yeah. And of course he has to take you through this journey where he delivers you actually from the root, and it's going to be a process. Even from the first time that it happens, you may get your visa today, but the very places that you will go through, the very places that you will, the very things that you will experience are to show you what has been in your background, what has been hindering you, what has been pulling you down, what has held you or your family for many years. You'll be shown a lot of secrets that you always were asking about, you know. And so there's no need to fret, there's no need to fight, there's no need to you know, take it upon your hands, because in time God shall reveal, you know. And sometimes he doesn't allow you to see things at once because it may be too much for you, yeah. But he says in this verse, see, the new things are coming, yeah, and they do not come unless I say so, unless I communicate through my prophets. But it's a new season, and even when it doesn't seem like so, like now it is spring for sure, yeah, but the leaves have not grown back. Why? Because we're still experiencing the rains. Like I think it was Saturday, it really rained, yeah, and so it is wetting the earth. It is calling upon all the things that have been sleeping to arise, because it is time, yeah. And so I know it is going to happen like this in your life, and I declare that you will be in that season. You'll be sensitized to everything that is supposed to happen, yeah. See, new things, the former things have taken place. There have been places that you have been in quite asleep, unaware that God is about to call you into mission. You remember how Samuel was asleep, and even when God called, he couldn't recognize it. He kept, going to Eli and waking him like, did you call me? And until Eli realized this boy is being called by God, actually, and he advised him what to do, that when he calls again, say, it is me, Lord, and I'm here and ready for your word. So go ahead and instruct me. The former things have passed, where you have been asleep, you have been hibernating, new things are coming. And I'm calling you to be sensitized. This word will play a very major role in your journey. You'll be like, it is at this moment that I knew, because God doesn't do something unless he announces it through his prophet. So may this word lift you in ways that you've been needing it for it to lift you. And I pray that you'll be right in the season. Of course, you will be. You will not miss it, because it is yours. God is calling you for greater things. God is calling you for a different season, because this is where he introduces the things that are supposed to be in your life, the things that you're coming into, the things that should have happened but were held too long in, or even stolen by the devil. He has been enjoying them, but now God is restoring you. It is a season of being restored. It is a season of things being renewed. And I hope you do feel it, because like the last video I posted, where I was talking about how we were working on this house, and I mentioned it being another time of restoration. I don't think there's a time we have been in agreement with the family that, oh, it is time now to work on some things on this house again, because we have been in hibernation, and I'm just loving the season and understanding that as we do these things one by one, or how we will do them, God is very interested in fulfilling some things, or taking us to the very next level that we are supposed to be. Life is a journey, and we are not supposed to be stuck in one place or stuck in comfort thinking, I have arrived. No, God still wants to carry out his full purpose in your life. And sometimes he will let you rest. Sometimes he will let you be in comfort. And then he calls you up after he knows that you have rested, you have learned, you have enjoyed, you have eaten and drank and, had your fill. Now he's calling you again so that you may do a new thing in conjunction with him. So may you be found ready. May you answer to the call. Amen. It is on. It is so on. It is a new season, and I hope you ride in it. Baraka, baraka tele. Bye-bye.